Welcome to Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston, PhD. Glenn has held his doctorate in psychology for more than 30 years and is also a former multi-million-dollar consultant to the big food industry and uses his experience to help you defeat your cravings. This show will help you to focus on dramatically reducing cravings and leave the diet mentality behind, so you can more easily and effortlessly achieve your health, fitness, and body composition goals. Please remember, no doctor-patient relationship is created via this show, and you are responsible for confirming any changes to your diet, health, or psychological routines with an appropriately licensed professional before implementing them. Now, before we get started, if you haven't yet downloaded the free smartphone app to access dozens of these recordings all in one place, as well as to avail yourself of a confidential community for support, motivation, and assistance, please visit the podcast link on defeatyourcravings.com as soon as possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Glenn Livingston.
Hey, it's the very good Dr. Glenn Livingston, and I am here with a kind-hearted woman named Donna, who has agreed to share this experience with you so that you can benefit from her strength and her experience and her wisdom, as well as her trials and tribulations and stumbles. So, Donna, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for inviting me on to talk.
How could I not with that lovely accent? Tell me your story, Donna. What's your food story?
My eating's been a bit like a bad shadow that has followed me for most of my adult life. And like many people out there, I've tried an enormous amount of different types of diet to try and get a grip, to almost lose my shadow in a way. I've done so many different types of diets, read an awful lot, and I've not been able to shift this cycle of binging and then restricting. And for a large chunk of my life, actually, I involved exercise as well. So that was the way I could try and get around the binges, was through exercise. Did a lot of endurance-based sport, and I'd justify my training regimes to help justify the eating.
Sure, I understand that. Did it work?
No. I mean, I did some great events, and when I look back, some of the things that I did do with the sport was brilliant. But no, the eating was always just about.
But eventually you can out-eat them, right?
Yeah, you can, exactly. There's no way around it.
Climb a 6,000-foot mountain, eat 7,000 calories.
Yeah, you can't run from a bad diet, and I've tried.
Yeah.
You can't run from the binges. So no. When I was trying to look for a solution, again, trolling through Amazon, what books are out there. And at that point, I thought, what a brilliant idea. But I just couldn't get my mindset to make the switch. I dabbled with it a bit and tried and just couldn't move forward with it. And then the past year or two, I think what happened is I just got stuck in the mud. And I've heard you say this to others about that feeling of being in 2 inches of mud and feeling like you're drowning. And I got to the point where I thought, I don't think I've got the energy to keep standing up anymore. I'm going to have to make a home here. And that's where I got to. I know rules. I like the comfort of boundaries. I like to know where I am. I like a clear line. I've got to give it a go. And that's what I did. I enjoyed the intensive course back in July.
Can I ask what you weighed before you came in?
I wasn't carrying lots extra. I think I had about 14 pounds that I wanted to lose when I joined.
1 stone?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just over 1 stone. I wasn't fitting in any of the clothes in my wardrobe anymore. I just felt like I occupied too much room in myself. I felt clumsy. I couldn't move with the freedom. I couldn't play with my children like I wanted to. And I know compared to some, that might not seem a lot of weight, but it was important to me. I wasn't in a good place with how I felt about myself.
Your body is where you live.
Yeah.
So you came into the program, and what happened?
Wow. It's been quite profound, actually. It's changed an awful lot on a lot of levels. My husband always used to say to me, you've got this brick wall and you run at it. And he said, and then you come up with a new idea, but then you run at the same brick wall. And we're doing this over and over and over again. And it gave me the foot up to get over the wall. So it gave me this insight of how I could get over the wall, other side. And the first 4 weeks or 6 weeks of the intensive course gave me like a pair of running trainers, and I ran like mad. And I absorbed myself in the tasks and in the ideas, and I just kept running. And now I feel like I'm not in a panicked run, not at all. I'm not going to hit that wall. And I'm now at a sort of a more steady pace, and I can turn around and I can't see that wall. I'm not saying I've been perfect. I've tripped over a few logs and I've run into a few door frames along the way, but I've not put my head down and run straight back at that brick wall. And that has given me these tools or these ways of thinking And I've changed in ways that I used to be scared of the scales. Now I weigh every day, I get on, it doesn't affect my day. It's a tool, I look at it and I'm getting a trend and I can see where things are going. And I'm not getting so anxious or distraught when it's not what it says, what I want it to say. And it's allowed me to look at, we all kind of come along in life with the baggage. And it's allowed me to separate my eating from certain emotions. And when you talk the pig for me has latched on to difficulties that I've had and I've not had chance to process and use them to fuel my eating. And that separation between the two has been really powerful. I lost my father when I was quite young. I was 16, and it was quite traumatic the way he went.
How old are you now?
I'm in my early 40s.
Okay.
With the help of my coach, to separate the two. I know I might need to go back and get some bereavement counselling around that, but my eating is separate to that. What the pig does is it sometimes takes an emotion from there, that feeling of not being good enough, of all of that, and it uses that to fuel a feeling that drives my eating.
So the pig will say that the grief that you're feeling, which is genuine and real, and the reemergence of the conflicts that you probably had and the negative self-talk that might have resulted from that, which happens when a parent dies, but that those struggles, although they're very real, you're not actually binging anymore, you might still have all those feelings and you have to work with it, but it's a separate thing and it's compartmentalized.
Exactly, that crystallized it. Stopping the binging has been one thing, and I can now look back, but the pig used to do this thing where it would feed on those feelings and I'd sense them as my own, whereas now it's that separation of the two that's able with me.
You're explaining it very well. Hey, pig, my feelings no longer control me. I'm no longer in love with my feelings. I'm in love with the facts. And I know that I'm in control and my feelings aren't in control. And I'll deal with these feelings in my own time, at my own pace, and in the way that I want to deal with it. I am not going to deal with these feelings by feeding you pig slop to anesthetize them or do any of the things that you previously wanted me to do.
That's exactly it. It is. And it's interesting what I found as well is that the longer I've been, I mean, this is the longest period I've been binge free. Now life's gone very still. It's almost a bit sort of like, well, what do I do with my time? My mind's not occupied, but I feel a bit flat as well. And I think what I've realized is I'm now having to deal with life on life's terms, and I'm better able to do that. I better deal with things. I react to things differently to how I used to, because before, the food and that frenzy of food activity and that need to binge, the need to consume, the need to be secret, it was almost very frenetic life my head was. And now I feel much more grounded in the moment. I see things, and it's a new place to be for me. And it's an amazing place to be. And it's hard. It really is. You've got to keep working. Like I said, I've hit some door frames, but the support I've had and the insights, I mean, I've got a lovely coach in Fiona, and her emails sometimes just have these little gold nuggets that sit in your mind and you think, oh yeah. Like when I first started, she'd say, focus on just not binging, not dieting. And that idea, I've just got to get through the day and not binge, was enough to get me through to the next day and the next day. And the simple rule idea was really brilliant, because I just had this one simple rule, and I've since added to it, and I've noticed how my pig wants to try and trip me up, and using the refutations. I'm going off on one, I know, but there's so much in it.
I wanted to go into a little more detail about what the insight was. It sounds like the email coaching and the tool of the refutation, which is how we dispute and disempower the pig squeals, and the calls, the 5 times a week support groups. They gave you some insights. I don't know exactly what those insights are yet. What were the insights that really turned things around for you? That you could start with one simple rule, that all you had to do was not binge today.
Well, they were kind of like, in a way, trickle fed. So the first one for me was just trying to lose this idea of dieting. So I focused on my one simple rule, which was just to eat 3 meals a day and nothing calorific in terms of drinks or food between them. So it sounds very simple, but for someone like me who'd been so crazily chaotic, it was quite a big rule to put down. And I remember one of the calls that rang in and said, is this too big a rule? And it was like, well, no, that's just your pig talking. There's no reason why you can't. So I just jumped straight in and went with that one rule. When I've written back and forward to Fiona, the refutations, oh gosh, there's been so many.
Maybe there's an example of one.
Talking about stress and anxiety. So one of the things my pig would do is I'd feel very stressed and very anxious. And it was that insight of how the pig would intensify those feelings to get a reward. So the pig would make me feel stressed because that will make me want to binge. And it was that idea that every time I feed that feeling, I feed the pig, it just gets stronger. And how then that would not going to make me feel.
What you're talking about is the common misperception that people have that when they feel anxious, they need to eat to get rid of the anxiety. But they don't understand that by the principles of operant conditioning, that if you have the physiological experience of anxiety, where your heart rate is elevated and maybe your respiration and your perspiration is up and your blood pressure is up a little bit, your galvanic skin response is up a little bit, all those things are measurable. If you feed people sugar at that time or starch or whatever your particular slop is, you're actually conditioning your body to produce more of that response. And there are studies with baboons and cats and rats where we can condition them to have high blood pressure, where we can actually condition them to have anxiety by giving them a sugar treat every time that they feel that. And so even though the anxiety goes down at the moment, it's actually going up overall. Same thing with cigarettes, by the way. People think that cigarettes calm them down. But if you take their blood pressure level and all this different measure of anxiety during the day for people who don't smoke at all, and then people who start smoking, you'll find that the overall anxiety level goes up for people who start smoking, except for the moment that they have the cigarette when it goes back down to normal. So you're dealing with much more anxiety than usual when you're smoking. You're dealing with much more anxiety than usual when you're binging, and you're conditioning your body to be progressively more anxious. It's a burning insight. It flips the paradigm. Good. So you had a couple of things like that in the course of doing refutations and talking to your coach?
Yes. But they've been trickled along. So the more I've done the different tasks on the challenge, so the big why for me, that's been an interesting one, because what I wrote to start with and what I've now got are very, very different.
Tell me.
Well, I called it my fairy tale big why. You know, it had lots of fluff and sparkles to it. But I realised that actually you take the binging away, I'm not going to change the person I am overnight. I've got to fill that space and learn. So I sort of went from this very sparkly big why down to a much more just down to earth kind of big why, as in I'm just going to be present in the moment. I'm going to be dealing with life. I love to dress and wear beautiful clothes, but I'm not a very good style guru, so I'm not going to suddenly, when I hit my target weight tomorrow, suddenly start dressing in this amazing way. But I'll have the confidence to experiment and to try new things. So I think for me, I've rewritten my big why, and it's got shorter and shorter, and I've focused in on the things that are important to me: my relationships with my husband, my ability to laugh more, my ability to be more spontaneous. Whereas when I first wrote it, it had those things about getting to my ideal weight and wearing the jeans.
A lot of non-scale victories. You've evolved to look at all the benefits that don't involve your weight, giving up binging, like the mental freedom, like the time with your husband. What else?
My girls, I've got 3 little people, and just being there to laugh with them, but being there and not being eating or thinking, oh gosh, are they going to want that chocolate cake that I bought yesterday that I've actually eaten, and how am I going to explain that one? Those all around the secrecy of eating and binging. My food was very much sugar and flour and bread, and I can remember sometimes the girls walking into the kitchen and they'd been eating something that I told them they couldn't have. Whereas now I'm not doing that. I feel more like I'm here and I'm present.
Not looking over your shoulder while you're eating.
And then not having all the guilt or the irritability that goes with it, because A, I feel guilty I've done it, and B, I'm irritable because the girls have walked in and I hadn't quite finished what I wanted to eat. And the things I've done around food, and I don't know, embarrassing to say, but I've put things of the girls in the bin, and then 3 hours later I've pulled them out again. And as a person, you think, my gosh, I can't believe I did that. And I feel quite ashamed by those things. And I don't want to go back there.
And I did those things too while I was binging and worse.
Yeah, I mean, I used to put fairy liquid over things in the bin to make sure that I didn't go back to them.
I used to pee on it. That worked. I'm not suggesting it. I don't want to know from an attorney that said I told you to pee on your food in the garbage, but I'm just telling you that was one line I wouldn't cross after I peed on it. So
yeah, but no.
But it's pretty crazy that I was reduced to a hobo. I was peeing in the garbage, right?
Yeah. No, but it's that crazy headspace. That's where I was at. So for me now, and I can sit with my girls around food and at breakfast. Breakfast cereal is another thing. And now they do eat breakfast cereals and they'll have their fruit and their yogurt, but I'm not finding that. All I'm thinking about is the breakfast cereals that they're eating, and are they going to leave any in their bowl? If they leave cereal in their bowl, I'm not the one that's eating the leftovers of it.
Because you're not a human scavenger, right?
No, and I don't want to anymore. I like being able to look at people, and I don't feel that shadow. I've got my own shadow back, but it's my shadow. It's not this black shadow. Life isn't tainted now. I can look back at things over the past several years where they've been tainted by my food, by the way I've eaten, or I remember a lovely family gathering and I remember the smiles and the laughter, but I remember the secrecy of the eating and wondering, I wonder if anybody noticed, or the aftermath of everybody going and then binging because I'd not eaten during the day. And now I'm just there as part of the family. And when they go, we tidy up.
How confident are you that you've left the binge eating behind you?
That's a tricky one. How many months now? So I've had one, what I would call binge, since starting the program in July. I've broken some food rules, but they've not led to a binge. And the binge that I did have was not on the spectrum of what I was before. And although I binged, there were certain rules that I didn't cross the line on. So I didn't throw the whole food plan out.
You no longer believe that you're powerless.
That's the thing. I'm not saying I'm not going to have a conscious pig party, but I'm very mindful of I don't want to do that either. But I'm confident that I know enough. I'm not powerless. If I made that choice to binge, then I've made the choice. It's a conscious choice, not that I'm powerless. You do this brilliant thing where you talk people through. I've heard you do it on many of your podcasts where you get them to describe what was leading up to the binge and what they were and where they drove. And I'm, oh my gosh, I've always had that idea of I'm powerless. I did 3 years in OA and came away feeling worse every week than when I went into the meetings. Met some lovely people, made some lovely friendships, but I don't think any of us moved forward with our eating.
I had the same experience in OA.
Yeah. And that came from that need to be dependent and that need to check in. And actually, that's the lovely thing with this program is I've written my food rules with the help and support and the insights of my coach. And when I've not been sure about something, we've worked out, is that a genuine worry, or is that being the pig squeal because the pig doesn't like the new rule, or is it actually practical? It's been on my terms. And the coaching, I am missing the daily accountability because I enjoyed the emails back and forward. I'm down to the once a week now.
Have you built a confidence inside you so that you miss the daily accountability, but do you need it?
I don't think I need it. I just miss it.
That's exactly what's supposed to happen.
The phased out approach was very good. And, if you're going from every day to twice a week and having the date so you knew when you switched, it's very well done in that sense. So I'm now at the once a week. One of the things my pig liked to do was keep rewriting my food rules and tweaking them. So I've now got an agreement with my coach that I haven't been allowed to twink with them until the 30th of September when I can review them.
I had to do that too.
And it was driving me mad. And that's how it was trying to blur the edges. The pig would be like, well, what does that quite mean? And if we twist it this way, I'm sure we can find a loophole. There's going to be a loophole.
For people listening, if you find that your pig is changing your rules too often, you could try to change your rules no more than once a month. You keep a little document that says, these are the rule changes that I want to make, unless there's something urgent. But these are the rule changes that I want to make. And at the end of the month, when it's time, if I've thought about it, this is why I want to make them, and I'm going to make them then. And then you still give it 48 hours to take effect.
And this month has been a really interesting one because I can see some of the rules. I've got an unrestricted rule I want to take out, and I can see sort of areas that I want to work on. So how confident am I that I won't binge again? I feel confident, and I can see I've got progression to go. I'm happy where I'm at, and my eating's the most stable it has ever been. And my husband can see it. He said it's like the lights are coming back on.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. You might ask you to marry him again.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else should I have asked you that I didn't get to ask you?
I made use of the 6-week challenge and I really focused in hard. I've kept the contact with my coach. I've listened to all the Q&A calls, but I only actually spoke up on one because I find them quite daunting. But you always have the ability to put things in the chat, or if I was something really burning, I'd take it to my coach first, and then if I wanted to, I would have done. But
you're a little shyer about talking up in the group, so you leverage the one-on-one contact instead.
Exactly that.
Okay.
And it still works. If there's people out there that don't like the idea of the group stuff, I've listened to a lot of the calls and been there in the background. And I do feel bad because there's some people that really open up and you can feel and you want to give something back. And that's why I wanted to do this call, because I thought, well, I'm not so good with the groups, but a one-to-one with you, then hopefully that's me giving a little bit back to the people
Very
who
much.
might listen to this, and maybe something I've said will trigger something in someone, because all I can say, if there's anybody out there that's floundering in that mud and doesn't know how to get out, give this a go.
What would you say to people that are worried that it's too much money to come to the intensive?
That did cross my mind, but actually when you look at the value, I don't know what people's binges cost. I mean, mine wasn't a big going out and buy takeaway and that kind of thing. So in terms of what I spent on binge food, it was stuff that was in the cupboard, or so yes, I did have extras, but probably not masses compared to what some people, if you do a lot of takeout food. But actually the value of the course, if I looked at what I wasted on diet books, diet products, diet slimming shakes, diet bars, outspent this course 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 times. It's worth every penny. So valuable.
Most people are spending $18 per binge at least 4 times a week.
Yeah, I don't know. What's $18 in English money? In pounds?
it's about $350 a month, or I guess that's like 200 pounds, 225 pounds, something like that.
Yeah. And when I look back, at one point got sucked into doing this sort of, I'm not going to name any names, but more of going on the shakes line. So when I looked at the orders I'd placed on that particular company, if I added all of those up, it was nowhere near the cost of this course. Nowhere near.
Do you mean it was much more than the cost?
Much more. More.
Most people make back the cost of the course because we have a 91% reduction in binge frequency for the people who engage in the first month. So most people, given what they're spending on binging and other diets and stuff like that, they find it's something that actually puts more money in their life as opposed to taking money away.
If that's what people are worried about, it's so worth its money. Yeah.
Donna, do you have any questions for me? Anything I can help you with?
It's funny because I've heard you talk to so many people and I thought, gosh, I wonder if I'll ever get a chance to talk to Glenn. And I know I could have done on one of the Q&A calls and I don't have a single question to ask now.
It's okay. Do you know why? Because you're doing terrific.
Yeah, I'm just thankful and grateful. What's hit me is the supportiveness, I think. When you listen to the podcast but Q&A calls and things like that, it's the support from everyone, from all the different coaches, approach things in a different way and you learn something from all of them. So, yeah.
Thanks, Donna.
Thanks. Thank you. No,
We've put together a nice tribe here, a nice tribe of supportive people.
And that shines through, actually. You definitely have.
Well, thank you, dear. Okay, Donna. Well, this will be out in a few weeks, and I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Monday evening.
Thank you, and you.
You're in the UK, right?
That's right, yeah. So it's actually 9:30 here.
Okay. Get some sleep.
I will do.
I'll talk to you on one of the calls soon, hopefully.
That'll be lovely. And you take care. Thank you ever so much.
Okay, dear. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that brings us to the end of today's broadcast of Defeat Your Cravings, hosted by Dr. Glenn Livingston. Now, if you'd like to find out more about the products and services Dr. Glenn offers to help you dramatically reduce your cravings and stop overeating in 90 days or less, please visit defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. That's defeatyourcravingscoaching.com. Thanks.